I looked over at the piece of paper on my desk and I realized that I had filled up both sides of same, and I had a bunch of stuff on my phone I wanted to talk about also. So this is one of your hodgepodge grouse sessions. Not the bird, but the verb grouse. So it's me grousing about things. I did the story where I mentioned police scanners, and I said police scanners in some places are like burglary tools, like lock picks, which may not be illegal for you to own, might not even be illegal for you to possess unless you possess them while you're committing a crime, in which case it can escalate the charges against you. And I said, just as a matter of just trivia, I said, by the way, many statutes refer to them as lockpicks or also picklocks. And I had somebody who wrote a response basically calling me an idiot, going, nobody calls them picklocks except for old, confused people. And I think he was referring to me as old and confused. I'm not sure if I'm both of those things. I think I'm just one or the other. But, well, let's look here now at the California Penal Code, Section 466, which says every person having upon him or her in his or her possession a picklock, comma, crow, comma, keybit, comma, crowbar, comma, and then it lists a whole bunch of things, but it never even says lock pick. It says Slim Jim. And they ain't talking about the thing you eat. They're talking about the thing you slide inside a door to pop open the locks on old cars. I used to use those when I drove a tow truck. But here they simply refer to it as a pick lock. And it does say a tubular lock pick or a lock pick gun, but it never lists a lock pick by itself. It lists it as a pick lock. So for you to suggest somebody that no one uses that term except for old, confused people, you need to understand it's also used by the actual law. And as an attorney, my job is to explain the law to you, not to explain the hip version of what the law ought to be, because that would not be doing my job very well. And so the guy who had written that actually said, for Christ's sake, no one calls them that, except for the California legislature. And that's one example. Other states do too. I actually did a video the other day, and I forgot which one it was, but I thought it was interesting because I was asked a question just the day before. And this news story actually addressed the exact issue I'd been asked the day before. And so in my introduction, I said, it's interesting because this actually is something I was asked just yesterday. And a woman actually commented and said, 6 seconds in, and he's already made this all about himself. Now, you're watching a channel called Lehto's Law. The host's name is Steve Lehto. And before he even speaks, it says Lehto's Law on the screen, and an announcer says, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto. So it's not even 6 seconds in. Every video is all about me from the start. And so I'm not sure why somebody would complain about that other than they just, I don't know, they're old and confused. But if I simply came out here as a news person and read the story and then said, there you go, have a nice evening, or, that's the news, I don't think people would watch. I think, and I might be, this might be a conceit, as they say, I like to think people watch because of how I do this, not just that I'm doing it. I could be wrong. In response to me mentioning that I've got a Ford Explorer, and by the way, I've got 2, I actually had a guy write, you should buy a Toyota. Your repair costs will go down. That's the quote. I wrote the word for word. I wrote it down. You should buy a Toyota. Your repair costs will go down. To which I responded, what repair costs? And he never answered back. Do you people not check when people respond to your comments? Once in a while, I'll respond on the main channel. People, oh my gosh, you responded. I don't respond that often. But the guy said, you should buy a Toyota. Your repair costs will go down. And I said, what repair costs? And I was hoping he'd say, well, all those extensive repairs on your Ford Explorer, to which I would have said, gee, dude, I've owned 6 of them now. 6 of them. And of the 6 Ford Explorers I've owned or leased, I've never replaced a starter. I've never replaced a water pump. I've never replaced a radiator. I've never had the engines worked on. I've never had the transmissions worked on. All they do is routine maintenance. Now, I will tell you that I had one Explorer that made it to 237,000 miles and the alternator went bad. That was the only repair I've ever had to do to an Explorer that was not warranted or routine maintenance. And quite frankly, most of them had no warranty work done on them. Now, I will admit that the one I'm driving right now, the old one, I've got an old one and a new one, the EGR valve went bad. And it went bad at 120 or 130,000 miles. The EGR valve was not an expensive repair, didn't strand me. The idiot light came on, took it in. The guy ran the code, goes, yep, your EGR valve, replaced it. Boom, I was back on the road. So with 6 Explorers and you're pushing close to 1 million miles combined on those cars, an alternator and an EGR valve. But he says, you should buy a Toyota. Your repair costs will go down. And the funny part is, I've had people say, when I mentioned I have a Ford Explorer, I had one guy go, oh, the guy's a lemon law lawyer and he drives an Explorer. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, you can. Because, and I responded to that guy and I said, I've had nothing but good luck with them. Are you telling me I should base my car buying choices on what other people tell me versus what I see with my own eyes? And I've mentioned before, I grew up in Detroit where you were programmed from a very young age to buy American. Now, I'm not saying I would stupidly buy American if they were junk. I wouldn't. But one of the first, not the first, but one of the first brand new vehicles I ever owned was a Ford Explorer, and I got it with my brother's A-Plan. My brother worked at Ford Motor Company, got me A-Plan. Got a great deal on it. And it ran flawlessly. So I got another one. It ran flawlessly. And I can tell you, at least on one of those, it was a lease, and I overran on my miles by just a hellacious amount. And to get me to lease another one, they forgave the overage. So I liked both Ford and Ford Motor Credit. And so then eventually I switched over to where I'm buying them. And I currently own 2 right now. I own an '02 Explorer, and I own a 2019 Explorer. And again, the 2019 Explorer has had nothing but oil changes, and it still has the original tires on it. The '02 Explorer, I just replaced the tires on it, and that's the one that got the EGR valve. But it's still, as far as I know, on the original water pump and starter. I put batteries into them, but the batteries have always been at the 5-6 year mark, 7 year mark, like that, literally. So batteries are routine maintenance if they hit the full life of the battery. But again, you should buy a Toyota. Your repair costs will go down. It's hard to have zero go much lower in the real world. I also got an email from a guy who asked me a legal question. I'm not going to say what it was, but he asked me a legal question about something in California. And I just didn't respond to it, not because I didn't want to respond to it. I was buried with other stuff. And I saw buried in my emails a question about a legal issue in California. And I meant to write him back and just say, hey, I can't answer the question. I'm only licensed in Michigan. You need to contact a California attorney. And a lot of people, if they think I'm ignoring them, will try to get a response. And one of the ways that people try to get a response is they will then try to insult me. And hopefully they think, hey, if I insult this guy, he'll respond to me. And so this guy sent me a note and he said, well, apparently you don't know the answer to my question, so I guess I'll go ask somebody else. Oh, my phone just dinged because I'm going to use my phone to read something in a second. And I wrote him back and I said, no, I didn't respond because I'm not licensed in California and I can't answer your question in California. If you're in Michigan asking me the question about Michigan law, I could answer it all day long. I could. But no, but apparently you don't know the answer to the question. By the way, I do know the answer. I just can't say it because if I say, by the way, here's the answer, but I'm not licensed here. If you relied upon it and said, well, I got the legal advice from some guy in Michigan, guess what? So that wouldn't be good for me. I got an email. Now we're going to talk about emails I get. I know a lot of people get these emails, but I find them funny. And I got an email and it says, Dear Lehto's Law Finance Team. I got news for you. The finance team right now is on a retreat. This is from ePayment Lehto's Law Finance, and it's addressed to me. And it says, your March payment is ready for processing. Kindly correct your missing payment information on our online portal below. And the online portal is actually the Lehto's Law self-service payment portal, powered by Lehto's Law IT. Now, I got news for you. My legal practice and organization is smaller than this group of people thinks. They think that my organization is so large that I have a self-service payment portal that was set up by my IT department, and I don't even know about it. And I better log in quickly and update this information to get the payment. But they're actually saying, and again, this is why I think it's funny, they're saying that they are from my organization, but from a different department, asking me to log into a different department, something they set up so that I can get paid by somebody else within the organization. I find that amusing. I also got action required. Your webmail password is set to expire today from the administrator. And this is addressed to me. It says, hello, Lehto, lowercase l. Hello, Lehto. The password to your mailbox is set to expire today. Following this prompt, your webmail will log you out and generate a new password. Or you can retain and continue using your existing password for your sign-in. We recommend you do that. And so to keep existing password, click this button. And of course, if you click that button, it takes you to some other website that has nothing to do with me. And then somebody have access to my email and then get into my email and find out if they can get other passwords to my bank accounts or whatever there might be in there. But the funniest part of all is that I purposely have my email run by a friend of mine. It's somebody who I can pick up the phone and get them on the phone and say, hey, how's it going? Did you ask me to reset my password by email? And I don't bother doing that because if he wanted me to, he would have called me himself and said, by the way, Steve, problem with our passwords over here. But he's never made that phone call. And I've had that email account now for 20 years, 25 years, close to. So it's been a while. And then I also got this email from Meta. Meta is the parent corporation of apparently Facebook. It goes, respond required, suspension pending review. Respond required. So the top line of this email has a typographical error. It should be response required. Meta for business. It goes, this is the Meta Pro team. We have noted multiple instances of hate speech linked to your account. Due to the severity of these violations and our dedication to a safe user environment, we've initiated the process for your account's removal according to decision number 212638, blah, 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 blah. You are entitled to appeal this decision within 24 hours. And then it says, go to appeal. And there's a button you can click, which again will take you someplace else. They'll ask you what your login credentials are for Facebook, and then they'll hijack your account. That's what they'll do. But it's kind of funny because it goes, we've noted multiple instances of hate speech on your account. And again, you can go to the appeal. But if you simply look at where that appeal takes you, it takes you someplace far, far away from Facebook. And then I think this is the last one I've got here, because I got quite a few of these lately, so I screen grab them and then I delete them. And this one here is from, apparently it's from Apple, because it's got their logo, and that makes it real. And it says, dear customer, we're going to deactivate your Apple Pay on behalf of your bank. They have detected suspicious login attempts around your Apple wallet. We, Apple, are taking this request very seriously. Not we here at Apple, but we, Apple, are taking this request very seriously and are going to deactivate your Apple Pay within 72 hours. Would you like to speed up the process and use your Apple Pay today? Follow the following steps. Your reference number is this. Please note the number is only valid for 72 hours. This is 1, go here. 2, fill in the online form, which of course asks for your name, address, maiden names of your parents, passwords, social security number, bank account numbers, so on. And then they say, we'll give you a 6-digit code, and then identification will be required and then completed. And it's signed, yours sincerely, Apple Support. And as some of you may have gathered previously from simple asides I've made, I don't own anything Apple at all, except for the one Apple thing I own, and it is this iPad, which is so old that it's got this beat up cover on it that was put together with duct tape a long time ago. And the only thing I use it for is I use it as a clock to time myself when I'm doing podcasts. Now, I didn't turn it on this time because I didn't realize I was going to be referencing it. And now that I realize I'm going to reference it, it's not on the right screen. But I routinely put this on this screen, and I hit start, and then I get a thing going, Apple ID verification. I go, not now, and then there's the clock. And I watch the clock count backwards from 20 minutes to let me know how far into a podcast I am, because in the old days, I had a camera that had a recording setting that would only let you shoot a video up to 20 minutes long, and then it would shut itself off. So if I got to 19 minutes and had more to say, I'd get up, stop, start, come back, and do it all over again. And it's a habit I got into, and it became a way for me to gauge the length of my videos. But I've been watching my other clock, which is over there. I got a really cool digital clock, which looks more like a radio station clock. So I feel more comfortable working off that. So I know I'm approaching 17 or 18 minutes right about now, especially if I make any cuts to make this shorter. So that's what I've been grousing about this week. Thought I'd share. Questions or comments, as always, put them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.